This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in metaquest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The metaquest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my two personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code Ruff Talk VR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered. Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we're joined with Edward Felix, who's the environment modeler of Walkabout Mini Golf.
One of our absolute favorite companies.
I should say that, Mighty Coconut, the team that actually makes Walkabout Mini Golf. But, we just reviewed myst on Wednesday. They've been really on the ball with DLCs this year between Labyrinth,
20,000 especially licensed DLCs.
Oh my God. We have always impressed with them. You could hear it, back when we interviewed Lucas Martel. You heard it when we interviewed Don, Man, the team behind Walkabout Mini Golf is something special.
We call them like they're the Olympic team.
Yes, the dream
team. If you're putting together a dream team of the best and put them together, then this is what you're getting. But every time we talk to somebody, you can see like, all right, this is their key component for this area, and it literally is one of the best of the best.
Yeah, so today we're joined with the environment modeler, like I said, Edward. So in case our listeners, somehow have never played Walkabout Mini Golf, they don't know who you are and
or read the news or
no idea what an environment model actually is. Do you mind introducing yourself a little bit more for our listeners and also telling them, what you do over at Mighty Coconut?
Sure thing. So for those people who are listening who have lived hitherto in a cave on Mars, Walkabout Mini Golf is a VR mini golf game. It's one of those things where you don't think, oh, that's very exciting, but people really, really enjoy it. And you get into the game and yeah, it's really enjoyable. It's one of those experiences that everyone can relate to. Everyone's played mini golf. Very few people are objectively good at it. It's like lawn bowls. Probably there's 10 people out there who are good at it, but no one else is, which is what makes it a sort of bit of chaotic fun. And it translates really well to VR because you're generally standing still, moving your arms. And I work at Mighty Coconut, the team behind the game. And I've done a few jobs here and there with them, but currently I am part of the environment modeling team. So what we do is we get handed a level when most of the gameplay is worked out and it's sort of made of gray boxes, and we make it beautiful to match the concept artist's work. So we try and build the environment that you're standing around in, but we're just one piece of a puzzle, and I can explain it in hideously boring and slow detail, and I will.
Well, you just absolutely blew my mind because, we talked with Don Collison, who it sounds like he's the concept artist part that gets handed to. I would never have imagined, because I'm not a developer. I'm pretty ignorant with making games. So the mechanics of the course are done before the artworks. It's all like blocky, but like the levels designed how it's going to work. I would have thought that and the artwork are done at the same time. You just blew my mind.
Well, to be honest, we are always polishing things right up into the last minute. You think you've got it right the first time, and then you play test it, and it's like, oh, we could fix that. And you play test it, and then you get the alpha test team and the beta test team, and all these different people have a look at it. And we're able to really polish it so that everything feels right. Hopefully, the effect is you're not thinking about the gameplay at all. You're just like, well, yeah, this is what naturally follows. This is the next thing that we do. And it doesn't distract from the fun social time you're having with friends. But there's a lot of work at making it almost unnoticeable. And that starts right at the beginning, and we're still polishing it like 9 months to a year later, just before release. We got to, get it as good as we can.
We'll get more into it through this.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I know you were kind of
And it
referencing.
sucks. I'm not very artistic. I'm like the 3D box guy, like, ooh, I made a box. So I'm absolutely amazed when people can see even someone else's vision and be able to somehow take that, and let alone on flat, now we're talking 3D environments and all that. It just, to me, it boggles my mind.
And you kind of joke like, oh, you can describe it in horrendously, long detail. To me, that's music to my ears. I love hearing that stuff. The fact that, you can take a concept, somebody's drawing it up, somebody else is designing the way it all
Somebody's
functions.
thought.
Somebody else is putting all the artwork, and it comes together, and it's so amazing. Like a course like myst, it's insane. I love to hear about that process. Something I'm real curious about though. You referenced you've done a few different jobs with Mighty Coconut. So, I mean, how long have you been a part of the team, and what are kind of some of these other roles that you bounced around?
So I started at Mighty Coconut a bit over 2 years ago. Mighty Coconut being, one of these sorts of production companies, they've traditionally done animation. It's one of those things that a team grows for a project, and then when the project's done, everyone moves on to other things. And Walkabout Mini Golf started just as a lockdown project by Lucas. So Lucas, is in charge of the company, and it was between projects, and lockdown was happening, so nothing was really coming down the pipeline. And he goes, I'm going to make this game for mobile phones, this little AR game. And he works on it, and the Quest comes out, and he goes, oh yeah, I reckon I can port this. It's a horrible version of that history. And he builds this game, and it comes out, everyone says it's the bee's knees, and I start talking to him. It was one of those things that I'd not known him previously. I just saw the on release day. I was like, oh, I'll pick up a copy of this game. Thought, it's brilliant. It's shockingly good. So I sent him messages being like, well, this is fantastic. I love, these sorts of areas. And we get talking. And I end up joining sort of people who help beta test things. And then, we're talking more, and I'm going, well, if you ever need help, I know you're wanting to expand, with modeling and stuff. I used to teach in this area. At the time, I was working in like design for like haunted houses and theme parks and stuff. And I was doing a lot of VR sort of pre-viz where I showed the people going, okay, this is actually how it would look when we constructed it, thoughts, give us feedback. So I'm going, I have experience in this area. There's no more work if you need someone. And so within like a week of the game coming out, I sort of started talking to this person and just sort of accidentally talked my way into some work. And so it's very weird. No one I know has ever had that strange sort of jump ever. And I start doing just occasional modeling. He'd sort of give me a list of things he'd want the next morning because I was in Australia. He's in Texas. He'd be at the end of his workday and go, oh my God, I need these items. Send me a message. And originally I was just going to do occasional off items, but it just became more and more and more. I think I started by making some fences and tombstones for original Gothic, the one set in the castle. It was the first level that came out as a free add-on to the game once the game had released. And it went on from there, and I ended up building the level above ground. So, the level's in two parts. The first part is in a castle above the ground. The second part is in the dungeons. And so I ended up building just the top part. He just went, oh, actually, you're doing well. Here, I'll give you some more. I'll give you some more. I'll give you some more. And then a couple of weeks from then, I was like, yeah, I'm full-time now. This is it. This is my job. So it was a very weird way of joining, but it's pretty fantastic.
He seems like, in talking to him, he was pretty incredible. But in general, I can't imagine working for him. He seems like a pretty incredible dude all around. Everyone we've talked to is just really like the enthusiasm for the projects that they have, the future stuff that can't be talked about, the enthusiasm people have. I mean, it blows me. This company as a whole, it literally blows me away. It's like set a standard for how good business should be run and built.
And the saying, the negative saying, the fish rots from the head. When there's a big company problem, it really does start at the top. The opposite is completely true. Everyone, really, really enjoys working here. It's really wonderful culture. And we can really attribute that to Lucas, the way he sort of chooses people, the way, things are put together and run. And now it's quite a team. When I joined, it was just me and Lucas, and then very shortly after, Henning, who is one of the main level designers, joined. And now it's a team of like 30, just on Walkabout Mini Golf full time. And everyone is a delight. Everyone is nice. Everyone is ridiculously helpful. I've never seen anyone have any issues or beef with anyone else. It's unheard of. I love it.
And I remember when we interviewed Don, he had referenced you guys do meetings sometimes actually in Walkabout Mini Golf. Is that right?
Yeah, we absolutely do. In-person meetings, fantastic. We can't do them. We're all remote. There's quite a few people in Austin, Texas, because they had worked together previously. So when Lucas was expanding, he went, oh, I know some people who I know are good. But it's not a requirement. I mean, I'm the furthest. I am in Australia, but people are spread all over America. So we don't have in-person meetings. And so to beat out Zoom meetings, we're using the Facebook Horizons workrooms, which was Meta's meetings app, which we really enjoyed. But they have a maximum of 16 people. And so we have like a custom build of the game where we can have just infinite players in a level, which doesn't actually work for playing the game. But when we're all standing around talking, it works really, really nicely. And so we can do it in a level that's released if we just want a cool environment, or if we want to be checking out and giving thoughts on a new thing in development. We can say, hey, this meeting area will be in the new and included, currently being worked on Britney Spears level. Everyone get there. And it's just really, really nice and fun. And we all sort of hang out and chat. And if you've played practice mode, you can now like pick up the ball and place it somewhere or throw it. And so whenever we disagree with someone, we pummel them with hundreds of golf balls.
And that's how you avoid toxic workplaces, my friends. Play Walkabout Mini Golf, bro.
Everybody's got a great attitude. They're looking forward to work.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it sounds like for the long term, Walkabout Mini Golf isn't going anywhere, and it's only continuing to grow and grow. So for something that started off maybe as a
side project,
we gotta survive till this thing rolls over, and now it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You created a thing. We always say it, the Walkabout vibe.
Yeah, that magic it feel. You go into Walkabout, it's impossible to not be happy. You're smiling, you're laughing, you're having a good time, especially if you're playing with people that you know. We're a father-son team, so playing Walkabout Mini Golf together, it's like going to a mini golf course together. It's always a blast. I tend to overhit balls way too hard. So, I'm going to launch a ball way farther, completely, probably go from right next to the hole all the way back to the star. I'm going to hear this guy hackling, just chuckling like a madman about it. It's always a good time.
It's never been a dull moment.
No.
Playing the actual game.
And I can imagine from your standpoint, it's really cool because you got to see this thing as like an embryo, now it's a full-blown adult. That's cool. You've gotten to see the whole development. What's that been like too, to watch this thing form from something that there's a couple of people working on to just a huge,
now there's a team.
Yeah,
it's been really, really gratifying. I think you'll find whenever you talk to someone creative who's worked on a project, they pour their heart and soul into their project, and they go, now this project is really worth something. I know it's been my baby. The world should know that it's fantastic. And so often you hand it out to the world and the world goes, no, thanks. It's not, you might have rose-colored glasses. It's not fantastic, which is okay. It's how we learn. But Walkabout, everyone loves it. And I'm sitting here going, well, that just makes sense. Obviously, it's fantastic. We've poured our heart and soul into it. And every time the team grows a little bit bigger, someone joins on, it just becomes a bit better. They pour their heart and soul into it. They give it their unique spin and their unique touch. And it ends up being an amalgamation of the best parts of all the people working on it. So a lot of people working on it come from sort of film and animation as a background. That's where Mighty Coconut used to, previously be focused on, which is fantastic because everything has such a life. And then quite a few of us, say like me and Don, both worked in, real life spaces, amusements, which really gives a sense of physicality to things. There's a way that we want to design a level where it's not necessarily, here is a realistic interpretation of Mist Island or Shangri-La. We just want it to feel like an amusement park version where all the best bits are put right next to each other, and as you walk through, you get that reveal and surprise of, oh my god, yes, that's there, but it's all still in one area. So if you're right near the end, generally you can see the start, and so it's all contained, but it's still a journey, but it's also all pushed together. And it's this very particular sort of design that is used in theme parks and rides that translates perfectly to virtual reality.
That's pretty much exactly what Don was saying also.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's really cool is I feel like this is the sequel to the Don interview, because he had said, like I said in the beginning, that he designs it, like he'll make the concept for it, the artwork for it, and then he hands it off. And I was kind of like mind blown, like, wow, they just kind of like move it through the funnel, but it sounds like you're the next step in that process. After the physics and stuff are done, the layout, it sounds like you're really making his concept, become the actual course. That's huge. That's really cool.
I'll just quickly talk through the stages because I think they're interesting, and so we're going to make all the listeners suffer.
I enjoy
through
them.
what I consider to be interesting.
No suffrage. It's all good.
So we have at the start a whiteboard of 800 million ideas. There are more courses than people on Earth that we have ideas for, and then for whatever reason we'll pick one. And we start by just doing some concept sketches of how we feel it should all look and write down ideas of the feel, because you'll notice that each course, each hole feels like it could really only be in that course and not any other. Cherry Blossom, it's all very rigid 90-degree angles and 45-degree angles, but with the soft wood so the ball doesn't bounce at a perfect 90 degrees. Tether Station, it's all hexagons and plastic, so the ball does bounce a bit more rigidly. Original Gothic, it's very, very square. The Coyote Valley, it's all smooth, there's no runoff. Everything has to feel like it's only in that space. So getting the feeling of that space is what happens first. Then we, do sketches of the layout, how we want it all to fit together, and then someone, either Henning or Don, will build the space completely as a gray box version with low detail in a program called Gravity Sketch, where you can build it in VR and you can be there in full scale, but also shrink it and work on it like a doll's house. And that I consider to be super important, because what you see is what you see. It's almost impossible to design for VR on just a flat computer screen, because what looks good on a computer screen looks horrible in VR. And vice versa. So it's really important that we actually build those in VR. And what we then do is we just sort of at that stage just playtest it to death. We really, really, we build all the holes and we optimize and we try them again and try them again and try them again and figure out, what works, what doesn't. Like in the labyrinth level, we have a bit where gravity changes. We'd never done that before. Until then, the physics had always been perfectly normal, perfectly realistic. Nothing was ever out of the ordinary. But if you've played Labyrinth, if you've seen the film, you absolutely have to do that in that section. So, we have a room which is like 3 sort of blocky sets of stairs, and we're just play testing and road testing and road testing until it feels right. And while that's happening, Don, who may have done sort of the building blocks, and Zach, who is our other concept artist, will do draw-overs. So we'll take screenshots of the space and they'll illustrate over them so we know it'll fit of how the space should look. And they'll do call-outs for specific objects, and they do just the most beautiful illustrations. I really want an art book for the game, because the behind-the-scenes work is just shockingly gorgeous. At which point it gets passed to, I don't want to say my team because I'm not in charge, but there's a team of us who then take that and build it. And so originally it was just me, and then Emma came aboard and Tad, who are all fantastic. And there's like 8 now. There's so many people. And one will focus on just making sure the holes still work exactly the same while also still testing and maybe optimizing. But they look right now. They look like they're built of the stuff and not just some boxes. And say someone will do the architecture, and someone will do all the little objects or the character models. And then we're constantly changing the flow. And then it'll be, say, passed to me to optimize it. And then it gets passed to someone else. And then it gets passed to someone else who does the Unity stuff and makes it work in game and adds all the lighting. And then we punt it out the door and hope people love it.
I don't think there's been a bad one yet.
No,
either,
that's exactly what we've mentioned that before. It's like they've never put out anything that wasn't worth. I mean, if anything, they're giving it away. Their DLCs
for $2.99.
They're always a steal for what you're getting.
$2.99. Technically, two different courses between the easy and the hard mode.
Yeah,
and hard mode's always hard, especially like this new myst course that just came out. The puzzle element of it, you roll over the buttons, the environment reacts to it. It's like they're always upping it to the next level.
I got so many questions about that course. It's not even funny.
Well, it starts with the big one. I think I asked Don this, so I apologize if I'm repeating questions. Is it one person who hides all the balls, or is this a multiple man project?
It really depends. So something that I have done since I joined and refused to give up, no matter how big the team is, I will hold this till I die, is doing the putters and balls. I super enjoy it. And who hides them really does change based on the level. No reason. It's handed out to someone saying, go hide the balls, go make this hideous and fun and difficult. And for myst, I can hang my head in shame in that I did hide the balls on myst. So if you have any loathing or hatred, please feel free to direct it at
no,
me.
it is not hate. It is
it's a
love hate.
It's a love hate.
So
you are just the person we need to talk to.
Yeah, I felt karmically I deserved what happened with myst, because I remember playing 20,000 Leagues of the Sea course. We reviewed it, and we didn't say it negatively, but that was the first course that we
found all the balls in one play.
Yep. First time we played it. Now, granted, it took over an hour. Like, you should see us when we land in. It's like new hole, pew, cockroaches. We're out. We're going on top of things. We're ducking underneath, So 20,000 Leagues of the Sea. I think I might have used the word easy to find all the balls.
You did.
And I regret that because, after several playthroughs and really spending a lot of time, I think we have 11, 12, something like that of the balls found.
You killed it with hiding the balls, sir.
Yep. With blending with the environment, with
not
perspective. It's like there was one that I don't even want to give spoilers.
Don't give a spoiler, no.
Just hats off with you on that one. That was I've been spending a lot of time looking for him. This is probably the hardest course with finding the balls, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
We do try and make things more easy, difficult, depending on who we think the audience for the course is. So all the courses that came free in the game, they tend to be a bit easier. They're people who are still learning how to find hidden balls. And, it might be more played by kids because it's free. Those courses are in the base game. Same with something like Sweetopia. We made those a bit easier because we thought, okay, well, this is probably the most intense, family friendly, as it were. Like, if some kids are going to be trying VR, this is the one they're going to be in. Whereas myst was hideously difficult as a game, and it's famous for doing so. And so I just sort of cackled like a mad bog person the entire time hiding the balls. I was like, ha ha ha, make them suffer.
Oh yeah, you really stepped it up.
We're still suffering. Man.
Yeah. There's even I referenced on the episode where we review it too, but you don't have to tell me where the ball is on this one, but there's that one that it almost looks like a surgical chair. And then there's the stars, and it shows like, which buttons you have to hit, in the room. And then there's these shelves. It's like circular. And I
The
remember,
observatory.
yes, so Stratus over here, he was like crawling on
I
the
was
ground.
crawling on the ground.
Because he's like, it has to be on the shelves. It's probably on the bottom shelf. Still haven't found it, so no
Nope.
spoilers. But like, it's not a huge core. It's not a huge hole. Like there's only, but I've searched every spot.
Sometimes it drives me crazy. And then we've mentioned many previous times. It's like, I swear to God, I'll look at the same area 5 times. And then on time 6, I see it like as plain as day.
And then you're not always sure, am I crossing into the next hole technically? That area, like where do I stop looking for this ball, So, oh man, you really outdid it on that one.
And you do the illustrations on the balls?
Yes. So these days we have Zach, one of our concept artists. He does concepts for some of the balls, and I have to rejigger those, remake them. The balls are really, really interesting because they all use one texture, one material for game optimization purposes. So we have a set texture size forever for the entire life of the game. And I don't know how long that'll be. If I could pop to the future and go, okay, well, this is the last level that we're going to do, I'd break up the space, but I don't know. We could keep going forever. People ask occasionally if we're doing Walkabout Mini Golf 2. So far, there's no need because we can just put whatever we want in the main game. But the second we run out of ball space, I'm calling it now, that's when we go to the next one. And yeah, so I sort of draw little pieces and then try and map them onto the balls in a way that renders well, in a way that doesn't take resources and looks nice. It's a really fun sort of puzzle balancing act.
Well, it's
the balls to me
that's one of the highlights.
Yeah, finding all the new ones.
Yeah,
I love when I load in and they all come pouring down. I got a freaking tray of them, man.
I'm king of the balls over here.
That's a lot of imagination you got to have to come up with that many different designs. Each one totally different than the other one.
Well, I just love the image of him laughing like a madman.
I bet you $1 million he was.
Yeah. Insane.
Absolutely. I've just pulled up the myst files for the game just then because I went, wait, where did I hide that? For the observatory room, and yeah, it's cruel. I'm looking at it going, yeah, that was mean.
But we love it though.
No, I think it's awesome. We mentioned it's definitely one of the more challenging courses we've played from Walkabout, and even with the added frustration of not finding the balls with ease, just kind of adds to that overall difficulty.
But the logic behind it makes sense. It's like, look, Myst was a hard puzzle game.
It's gonna be hard to find the balls, but there is a ball for every hole, right? Because I started questioning. I'm like, you know what? This would be some shit if all of a sudden
there's just that one hole of the
we're
whole
just
game.
Not
there's
put
just
a
that
ball
one
there. Why
hole 17, no ball.
Spend years looking for it. Okay, so the work is.
There has been occasional errors, like when original Gothic first came out, we hit all the balls, fantastic, and then we had to like shift a floor because it was causing a bug where your ball could actually get stuck, where it could actually become a lost ball. And so we moved it, not realizing we hidden a lost ball there. At which point the lost ball was under the floor. You couldn't see it. And you couldn't even just brush over the area to suck it up because it does a ray cast. It goes and looks and stops if it hits something. And so there was a ball that was physically impossible to find for about a week before we realized, oh, that's why no one can find it. We've ruined this for everyone.
You guys are probably in the office like, wow, that one hole it's
really got people stumped. Getting emails every Monday on this. I don't understand.
And like,
it's bizarre.
I've heard different developers reference different like analytical tracking tools in the game where they can see how many players have completed levels and stuff like that. Are you able to see any numbers of like example, this this course has been played X amount of time, or this ball's never been found? Is that able to be seen, or was you just kind of basing it off of hearing reports of people?
That one we based on hearing reports, and we do, we could build that in, but generally we've just never found the need to get that deep into the analytics. Also, it feels a bit creepy. Thankfully, we're really lucky. We've got the most wonderful community. I think, we're all familiar that sometimes gamer communities can be hit or miss. But we're so lucky that the Walkabout Mini Golf community, everyone is super nice and inviting and welcoming, and everyone will let us know how they feel. And they're always nice about it too. They're always like, oh, this one didn't really land, or oh, this is fantastic. And so we've never felt the need to sneakily spy on people. People just go, oh, we felt this. And I'm like, thanks. I always need to know this to make the next one better.
That's awesome. No, and that makes a lot of sense. It's like exactly what you said. There's no need. It's kind of a fun little bonus thing in the game. There's no reason to go super crazy with it, super deep, you know? And yeah, it's hard to be a toxic individual playing Walkabout Mini Golf. If you play Walkabout Mini Golf and leave with negativity, I
You're
don't
a
know what
special kind of toxic.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
It's
jump
like-
into it and you just get angry.
all these blocks everywhere, you know? It's even when I can't find the balls, we're more going like,
Well played, Mighty
yes,
Coconut.
I think
well played.
that's our number one said line
Yep.
when we can't. Well played.
I'll stand there and we're not even hitting a ball. We're just
Mm-hmm.
looking for the damn thing, and it's just shaking the head going, well played. And then we'll try to think something. Let's think like Mighty Coconut. What would you do if you were hiding this ball?
Well, now I know to look for these balls with the intention that they are put in like difficultly placed. I'm like, am I just struggling with this for no reason? It's like, no, this you're really gonna have to look.
You got to earn it.
Yeah. For a standard one, we do try and put them where they might naturally roll and get stuck. For Myst, I may have erred on the side of cruelty because it is a very intense puzzle game. Whereas 20,000 Leagues, the Nautilus, we were a bit simpler because we thought this one has that sort of more kitschy, more fun vibe. Originally, the balls were a lot harder. We then scaled it back. One of them, which was my favorite because it was so horrible, was it was like this sort of brown colored ball with a light pattern, and it was hidden on a painting over sort of the dinner table scene. There's a painting of Captain Nemo, and it was magically affixed onto that painting, and it blended in perfectly, and no one out of any of the testers or anyone in our team could find it, and it was right there, but it was too impossible, and we scaled it back and made it easier. And it's so funny though. I wish we'd had it because it's too cruel. You can't do that, but it's so funny.
If it's right in your face too at the end of the day. I mean, come on. I mean, I'll admit there's been balls I found and I've like had shame. Like, how did I not see it? And then I started making like excuses for it. Like, well, it's probably some algorithm they use that you have to walk past it 5 times and then it appears.
Nope.
Yep.
No,
It's there staring you right in the face.
And that painting one that you're referencing, that didn't make it in, but that's not the only ball in all of Walkabout Mini Golf that blends environments. A lot of them are very camouflaged in. They match the color that the area they're in, and yeah,
For something that's not 180 solid looking balls either. I mean, there's flag patterns. There's all sorts of different.
My favorite is always the black one with the skulls.
The skulls.
That's what I use 100% of the time. Actually, you know what? That's actually a good question for the man who designs the balls. What ball and club do you use?
Oh, it really changes. All right, so I'm gonna be laying out some secrets here. As I'm building things, I'm always testing them. So I have every weird ball that we've ever made. Like there's about 700 at this point. I think we've released about 200 in the game, or 300 or something. I've got another 400 sitting there that are fun patterns or vague or not level specific. And then I'm always experimenting with them, and same with the putters. There was a really early design of a putter for Arizona Modern, where I tried to make it look like modern art, and it looks not so much like a putter, but like the idea of a putter. And nothing's connected, and it's all just sort of floating and it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the level. And this was before we had Zach doing the concept art for the level and the putter, which gave us a much more sort of synchronous feel. And so we ended up replacing with the one that is the Arizona Modern putter. But I've got this love, and at some point, which is why I'm describing it vaguely, we'll find a level that it fits, at which point it will get put into the game. And when I'm not playing in public, when I'm testing, I always use this weird putter because I'm like, it's mine. It's the strange baby. And when sort of coworkers see it, they go, what on earth is that? that is not a putter. I'm sort of here with this strange object going, it's mine, it's mine.
I hope.
But as a more fair answer, I really like the Sweetopia putter. It's gooey and strange.
That's awesome, dude.
I ball jump more often than anything. Yeah. I feel like if I play with one ball too long, I'm doing a disservice. But I like
700. That's crazy. You know, like you said, only like 200 to 300 released so far. But
yeah,
dude, I can't even imagine choosing one. I'd be like, and since you're making them, you have to have a little connection to each one, even if they were a quick mock-up. It's still a creation of yours. You know, I remember making that.
You'd have to have one of your face. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my god, I don't have that yet. Okay, I'll put that in there. Just
you gotta have one of those.
Part of becoming a new employee at Walkabout, you know, we have to have a putter for you. You know,
staff balls,
staff ball,
staff balls. So when you're throwing them at the
no, but yeah, that's one of our favorite aspects of the game, which sounds so silly because it's like you could ignore that aspect.
Still a great game,
and you're still gonna love it. You know, you're just not gonna have a bunch of balls to choose from. But I see new course, to me, I got 18 new balls, you know, and I'm excited for them.
Well, if you know they're there, how can you not try to get them? Come on. And I like being able to pick whatever ball I want to play with.
And like there's something so satisfying about going into the lobby and just, like you said, seeing them all come down the tube and just roll
earned it.
Yeah.
Those weren't like thrown at you because you did a hole.
So I think I heard you reference this in the beginning, and it had me a little curious. You know, how long does a course take from, you know, whiteboard. idea to pushing it out the door?
I mean, there's a million ideas on the whiteboard, but the second we sort of pick one up and we go, all right, we're starting, about 9 months to a year to go through all the phases. So, and you might touch across the different phases. So, for example, I've done some work recently on a course that I think will release around about September, October next year. We've got courses that we're working on that won't come out till 2024. So we are gambling on the idea that people still like them and will continue to buy them. There's that sort of gamble of like, well, I hope this all pays off in the end. But yeah, it takes a really, really long time. There was a period where we were really trying to speed up how often we get them out. Whereas now we sort of hit a nice balance. We're just trying to make sure that no one's crunching in the office. You guys will know that with a lot of game design, you know, poor practices at a company can lead to people working, 16-hour days and really, really crunching to get something out. And sort of our big goal, which is really achievable for us because we are just doing another little one and another little one and another little one with a pretty set flow of how it gets put together. Our main goal is making sure that everyone's still having a good time working on them and it's sustainable. And it means people do, everyone puts in their best effort. Everyone has a great time. And, I think everyone who plays the game can feel that and appreciates that it'll come out when it comes out and it's going to be great when it does. And no one really, really wants to rush it.
I like that though. And, it's keeping the employees happy and you feel that employee happiness in the course. I know that sounds crazy, but I would be shocked to play Walkabout Mini Golf course and then find out that the employees were miserable making it. I swear you can feel the love and passion in the course,
No, you can tell with just everyone we've spoken to from, founder of the company to, this will be our third individual and everybody is kind of next level happier than probably most at the workplace.
Yeah. So, it's keeping that happiness and it's like, I say it all the time. I'd rather something
take longer
and be good. And really be
then
fleshed
be rushed
out
and be janky.
You don't get all these difficult ball hiding spots and stuff. If you're rushing it out the door, it really takes some time. So I say it every time we talk about Walkabout Mini Golf. I always say my dream course is a Star Wars course. Everybody's different. There's somebody who their dream course was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea or Labyrinth or Myst, or they're getting those box checked. Everybody's going to be different. For you, as one of the people working on it, do you have a dream, franchise to come over and do a DLC course, or is that kind of tough to talk about because it might actually be in the works?
Well, if I am not involved in the people who make those decisions with different IP holders, so I can say whatever I want. My dream IP was, funnily enough, Myst, I have been a fan of Myst since I was like 0. One of my earliest memories is sitting on my parents' like knees as they're stuck on this godforsaken island. I've played every version of it, like every which way from Sunday, all the games. I learned to speak the language that they invented. Like it's just hardcore, absolute nerd here. And so really early on, we were going, okay, we can have IPs. Lucas went, oh yeah, we're thinking, might try and get Labyrinth or something, maybe Myst. And I just sort of let out a weird shriek noise. So this was the dream. Getting to build sections of Myst Island was just out there fantastic. I ended up working longer hours, not out of necessity, just because I wanted to. And then someone sort of went, "Oh no, Edward, you can't. You'll have to take some days off to make up for it at the end," because I was just having too much fun. I'm like, I don't want to put down the computer. I'm having a good time.
That's awesome, though.
That's wicked awesome.
That's a dream come true. Then, so that's
it's sounding like everything that has happened to Edward to get to where he is. From just having conversations about a mini golf game to now literally being this deep into the whole
designing his dream course.
And now designing, helping to design the one bucket list course you could do.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess that
doesn't
kind of
get better than that.
Yeah, it's not work too if you're enjoying it like that. It's like I want to put in the extra time. I'm having a blast. This is my childhood right here. That's freaking awesome. So, what do you think of Myst in VR? Because there's like you said, many different versions. You said you played every single one. How do you like it in VR versus the classic?
I think VR's a better fit for Myst than anything else because it follows so many rules of VR design that obviously no one had ever thought of. I think when Myst was being developed, the game before Myst, the remake was Abduction, which they did release in VR. And that was before anyone had really learned the rules of designing for VR. Some things like if I'm designing a level, I might want a really big set piece, but I don't want people to actually have to walk across a desert. The less movement, the better, but you got to try and, this is where we talk about doing things in the way of a theme park. And Myst obeys all of those rules that no one had even, the concept of making the rules wasn't a twinkle in the milkman's eye yet. No one was close to it. And Myst follows all of them perfectly. It's all right there. It's all really compressed, but it's all different worlds and different feelings for each area, while also still being a really engaging puzzler. And it's bizarre that it works as well as it does. It really shouldn't. There's a game from 30 years ago shouldn't be remade and work flawlessly in the new medium, which has different rules, and yet it does. And so I'm a big fan of the VR version.
That's awesome. And that's so cool to see them do this crossover into Walkabout Mini Golf too. You kind of joked before, as long as people are still liking it and stuff, but we've said before that going the route of IPs, it's endless potential. You guys can pump out courses till there is no more.
Well, I think we made the comment last time too that like it'll reach a point where people are going to start going Mighty Coconut and being like, "Hey,
can you make us a Pepsi course?
You got this movie, stupid, we so Batman wants a course.
Yeah,
it'll have to reach a point where it's like it's a win for all parties involved.
Yeah, and there's a unique walkabout feeling that I agree with that. It's like companies are going to start to want their franchise to have. It's like the same way with like Lego. I always use that comparison. Like there's Lego Star Wars for the games, Lego Indiana Jones. And it's like it could work for any franchise. I think that's the same exact thing for Walkabout.
And they own it. They got no competition in that department either.
Yeah, if you were to come out with a mini golf VR game, it'd be like, why are you even bothering? So I think the potential goes unlimited, really.
So I want to jump backwards, if we can, for a moment, into your previous world before Mighty Coconut theme parks, because we know Don had a
Disney Imagineer background.
Did some Disney Imagineer stuff, all nonchalantly, of course, as does all the people we talk to. Are like, if you've seen a movie, I was in it, or I was produced this or whatever. But amusement parks, specifically haunted houses, was that your thing?
Yeah, so I'm a big nerd for spooky horror things, and so I worked in designing animatronics. I've got an engineering degree that I very rarely use. And so, doing animatronics, sometimes for haunted houses, which is where I was going before. I was really getting into that area before COVID hit. And obviously, it's like not a great environment for COVID. Everyone crammed into a small space with
Screaming.
lots of air out in a small enclosure. Not fantastic for the world of COVID. But I'd done stuff like stage shows, and various films and TV shows, and then was getting more into, spaces that people lived in, which is great because I was then transitioning to designing those spaces, which hopefully, I'd like to get back into one day. But also, I don't want to give up Walkabout. You'll take this game from my cold dead hands. So maybe just in my spare time, I'll make a VR haunted house. I don't know. But it is funny how this completely unrelated world, it set up a whole bunch of skills that really, really fit into VR design. You do get a sense of what works and what doesn't in a physical space, which is what we're designing for in VR. I know because it's a computer game, you could break any rules, but all of our spaces work. There's no magic, warping tricks where you're inside a space that's bigger than somewhere else. Everything is physically put together. If you had infinite money and instead of, burning it all by buying Twitter, you could rebuild one of these courses 100%. There would be, the most difficult one would be changing the gravity on Labyrinth, but even then Labyrinth is physically possible. I did the environment on Labyrinth, and getting the infinite maze to work as a both on top and then the infinite all degrees maze underneath the castle that physically fits into the castle and the ground. If you fly out, you won't see things loading in and loading out. It all works, it all fits together. So if you know any billionaires who want to make a Labyrinth mini golf, I've got some blueprints.
Or a nice old Myst one, because the puzzle element, which obviously it makes sense, Myst is a puzzle game, but there's puzzles on those courses. You have to use the buttons correctly. You can't just go whip it. You're going to go bounce off a wall. So it's like, man, things are just, they're hitting the next level.
What I said was, I want to see the hole-in-one videos of people popping.
Oh, can you imagine? They will turn up the hole-in-one videos.
I know. And
I
there's
got
some
one hole-in-one.
Some holes that I'm just like, I just don't in a million years seeing it, but I know someone's going to do it.
I did one accidental one where I do this thing sometimes where I hit the ball like it was talking crap to me. I just whack it and bounce a bunch, and sometimes some crazy stuff happens, and I got the most ridiculous hole one. So
never to be duplicated.
No, that was not a skill one. That was a anger management one. Just whack.
That sounds like all of my holes in ones that I've ever achieved in the game. Yeah.
So how are you competitively at this game? Because, just you're playing a game a lot doesn't mean you're good at it. I still suck at Population 1. We play the game all the time, and I've played Walkabout Mini Golf for a long time now. I got plus 27 on the hard course. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not the best player, but competitively, how are you at this point at playing it?
Okay, so I try and get like an hour of the game in every day, testing new things, checking on new levels, really, because that's the way to figure out if it's good. Just try it and try it again. And have been doing so for years. And I'm dreadful, absolutely hopeless at the game. It's a joke. Me and a couple other modelers, early stages of testing a level, we can tell if it's too hard based on how we play it. Because after all this time, we're still hopeless, and we're like considered the baseline of what a new player is like. And when we're trying to make it approachable and acceptable, we go, well, can these two do it? No? All right, better make it easier then.
That's awesome. Oh man, you sound about the same skill level as me. Sometimes I even make myself laugh of like, how
I can't talk shit because I've lost the past 2 games we've played.
Yeah,
and that's I'll admit that's rare.
I'm getting a little bit better.
I take my mini golf pretty seriously.
It's because I went into this Myst course. I've beaten him on it, like you just said the last couple times. I'm going into it with the puzzle standpoint. It's not about how I hit the ball exactly, like just an angle. It's like ricochets have never been better than this course, So Edward, it's been awesome having you. We're hitting closer to an hour, but there's a couple more things I do want to ask. You know, when you play a game like this, and it really emphasizes the social VR aspect. You referenced, everybody throwing the balls at each other and whatnot, but what are games like in the Walkabout Mini Golf, online office, you could say, when you guys are all playing together?
Well, generally we're going and looking for bugs. So it's like ball hunting, but everyone's sort of trying to stand in weird positions. Occasionally, hit the ball off to space, see what happens. But generally, we're all sort of going, "Oh, hey, how's it going, Edward? Oh, yeah, all right, Emma." That's what we sound like. And whilst trying to sort of stand on your head in the corner of a room and go, "Is there a light leak?" And so it's very unusual. It's like a combination of mini golf and a circus act as we try and hunt down for bugs and see what's broken. So they're strange, but it's also the best social time. So we're all catching up with each other's in life events. Oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened to you. How are you feeling? While all looking like a bunch of clowns.
So I got to know, is Lucas at all these meetings?
Yeah, we each meeting we break up generally. So we've got like the big team meetings, but we also just do our play tests where we checking out a new course in development. We do a couple of those a week, and we all break up into rooms, and the goal is to play a full round. And so, yeah, you can play with Lucas, but you might be playing with someone else, and it's really good because it means that we're all pretty close knit. We all get to know everyone on different areas of the team. Sometimes we'll be separated based on, okay, well, all the artists are currently at this stage of this level. They should be looking together. But often it's completely random, which means that, oh, I might be talking with the head of marketing. I might be talking with, might be hanging out with Don and one of the other modelers. I might be with Lucas or Craig, who does all the sort of getting things to work and look nice in Unity. And so you get a really good cross-platform of who's around and who you get to hang out with.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Very team building.
well, it has to be a big
Built-in
reason
team
that-
building. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's so happy there. It's like you guys are having a good time.
Well, I
playing
was
mini
curious
golf.
if anybody's thrown like the golf balls at Lucas for making a bad decision or saying something they didn't agree with.
That's funny.
If you
All the
would
time. It's a very flat team structure. We're all just as mean to each other as anyone else.
Oh, that's
which
awesome.
is not at all, really. We're all very nice.
No, it's all in good
but-
fun. And
Everything in fun. I do have a question about the whiteboard though. Can anybody on the team try to pitch one of those thoughts or ideas, or is it really just a select
Absolutely.
group that really?
It's something that I feel, while hasn't officially been talked about, but is sort of a reigning theme of the company, is that just the best idea, no matter who it comes from, is the best idea. The best idea, the best solution wins. When, say, Zach is doing a concept for the putters, I'll be the one to build it in the end. And so I could just sort of override everyone. But everyone gives their thoughts onto what looks best and what feels right. When everyone's playing a course, I've had ideas that have ended up in the holes, and I'm not a hole designer. I've got no experience designing gameplay. Same with, half the best ideas in the game come from the QA testers, because their whole job is seeing what works and what doesn't. It's just the best idea at the end of the day is the idea that makes it in.
that's awesome.
Just another testament to the. You know what else I'm wondering? If those handwritten sketches, I hope to God they don't ever get thrown away. There's a market for those. Like,
Yeah, I don't think Walkabout's shrinking in popularity through the years. I think this is a
no, I'm just picturing like thousands of hand sketches of all these courses in different stages, and like the conceptual art, and that's a whole market in itself.
Well, something that
I
I love.
want a table art book, but the problem is you are never stopping. Normally those art books come out after a game's done. And where do we put the cutoff line for making that?
You'd have to do.
Although that said, we did just launch a merch store. No books yet, but we've got sort of mugs and t-shirts and jumpers and all those wonderful things.
A coconut hat is a no-brainer too. A nice mighty coconut head. Put it right
I
on.
don't think we've got a coconut hat. That's really funny.
Imagine
No,
everybody.
I saw the
to it.
tumblers and stuff they had though.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I tagged us in the post, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this would be good for the studio for sure.
And one of the big things about Walkabout Mini Golf is the graphics of it. Something that we had talked about last time we talked about it was you were like, if there's anything you could flag them for, it'd be the graphics, but that's why it works so good. Like the graphics are it actually makes the game better despite them being,
not photorealism.
yeah, kind of blocky, but that's such a huge part into
Mighty Coconut has their own feel.
Yeah.
Like if they tried to slide in using that same structure of artwork and such in a different game and tried to pretend it wasn't them, you'd probably figure it out real quick.
Real quick. There's a very distinct Mighty Coconut feel to things. But one thing I'm dying to ask, and feel free to say, hey, look, dude, that's way too much of a spoiler because, we can't give that away. But when we were playing the Myst course, we couldn't help but notice all these handles, these like levers and switches that seemingly do nothing. But I will say, I didn't go deep into the real Myst game like somebody like yourself. And I'm like, all I can think is that this is a reference to a big puzzle in the game like that. But there's all these these handles that you can flip up and down. Do those in any way, shape, or form actually do anything? Or am I having too much fun just moving a clock around with, a button?
Some do and some don't. Some have things, some don't. We wanted to put in as many references as we could. There was a stage of working on it that I was in where I was meant to be just doing the final cleanup optimization, make sure everything's running as efficiently as it could. And I suddenly went, nope, I'm spending a day putting in every reference to every Cyan game I can think of. So there's some things that you'll notice from Riven, and then from Exile, and then from Revelations, and then from Uru, and then from like Cyan's first game. And I'm just shoving these things in as much as I could. And we wanted just to have a feeling that more so than any other level that you could play with things on this one, because Myst was, everything was interactable. It was very, noted for that. And so not all of it does stuff, but some of it does stuff. So it's a really non-committal answer, but it's probably the most accurate.
I'll take that answer.
For my own sanity, I was hoping hearing that they do nothing because I've
just
spent
move
so
the lever,
much time.
kid.
Yeah, we've spent so much time flipping them all up and down. All right, what if we flip these ones up? What if we flip these ones down? There's the one with like the images on a pole. It almost reminds me of a tiki torch, and you can press the button and it kind of lights up a bit. There's the clock. And I was almost hoping to hear that these do nothing because then I'm like, all right, I don't need to play with them anymore. I can go live my life. But now I need to go deep back into it and find out what the hell's going on with these. Because it's
maybe just let it percolate in the back of your mind. I'm trying to remember which ones do things. This could be really horrible advice. So possibly nothing.
I'm just gonna let it ferment. Well, regardless,
just leave it. Just if it's stressing you, just leave it.
Well, I promise I have to play more anyway because we got about 6 more balls to find, and I need all 18 balls.
Yeah, there's no way around that.
Especially this level. This is the only level we've ever done where every single ball is what I call a graphical ball. Some are just patterns and colors and things that don't take up as much data on our, very limited ball swatch. But I think are pretty when I put them together. And so I tend to sort of, for each level, we put in some really cool custom graphical balls for a level. And then I just try and go through my collection and see what vibes for the level and the spaces that they're hidden in. But Myst, there's 18 different balls. And the Cyan team were really interested. We did revisions of the concept art with them. They really freaking loved these balls. So each one is worth getting because each one is a reference to something. They're all graphical. They're all super cool. And I really want a mini golf like color printer, like ball printer. I just want a golf ball printer. You can get them and they only print like a small disc on the top. And I'm going, no, I need the whole ball colored in so I can print all the balls in the game and like frame them and put them on my walls.
Again,
well deserved.
Yeah, for me, that's like we keep saying, that's one of my favorite aspects of the game. I think it's underrated. I don't hear enough people talk about, like, obviously you hear it talked about, but that's such a highlight,
I think there's levels to things, and I just think we take the ball finding a little maybe too serious at the start. But
well, it didn't take long for us to get OCD about it. Of like, no, we're playing a course. We're
Yeah, we need over an hour for a first course run through easily.
Yep. So I got one more question that's killing me. I'll pass it over to Stratus after that if he's got anything else he wants to ask too. But you've seen a lot of these courses come to life, really, and obviously you said you're playing an hour a day. You try to just about. Do you have a favorite course? All said and done.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. There's so many where I love them because they meant something to me, and then ones I love because I just love the feeling. So the one that means the most to me is probably Tethys. Tethys Station, it's the sci-fi one. It's level number 6 because it was really, really early. There was I think it was at the time just me, Lucas, and Henning. And so we'd done original Gothic. I'd made it full time. I'd proved that I'm a reasonable person. Henning did a block out, and we did a playthrough of the block out together. And they just handed it to me and said, "Cool, make a level. Come back in a while." Before someone did lights and all that. And so to me, it means the most because it was my baby. It was like in terms of how it looks and feels. I remember I started from the start and was working my way through, and I think it's like hole 4. I came up with the idea of the running colored lines that connect across the space station. I remember thinking, oh, this is it. I figured out how it should feel, and then retroactively put them in the other spots. And so it means the world to me. But then say Shangri-La, where I did the same type of modeling when we had a concept artist, is objectively infinitely better because everyone on the team adds something. So yeah, Tethys means a lot to me, even though I don't think it's very, like, in terms of the others, I think it's just not as good. But it means the most to me because it's my baby. It's what would happen if I got let loose to do things on my own, which it turns out is fine. Better with more people and more ideas. But probably my favorite level is Quixote Valley, which I pretty much didn't touch. It was everyone else working on it. And for various reasons, I was on something else. And so I didn't touch it. And it's the best feeling level. It's like a Miyazaki movie come to life. So it's my favorite, even though I didn't work on it.
Well, that's awesome that you have a very distinct, like, this is my favorite for
I love
personal
answer,
reasons. And then, you have your favorite enjoyment, if you're going in as a user. So I think that's a really good answer. And then, did you have anything else you want to ask before we let Edward go?
No, I actually want to have Edward back sometime.
Yeah,
to keep talking because
you can hear the passion, you can hear the love.
Listen, show me an employee that isn't. And I don't even want to say employee. Show me one of the team members.
Show me a coconut.
Show me a coconut that's not loving life and just happy to be contributing with their. And it's just amazing the backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I find it funny. You have an engineering background and have somehow now are in the world of VR.
I've yet to hear I was working on VR games and now I'm working at Mighty Coke. It's all of these unique, different paths come. I'm not to say that there isn't people who work at Mighty Coconut with just VR backgrounds. That's not what I mean. But of our selective interviews we have, it's a really unique group of backgrounds coming together.
I like the creative control the company seems to give their team members to, have some ownership to a project as well as be a contributing link in the project. It's just a great representation of a company.
And the setup of the way everything's put together, it's like everybody has such an important role. It's like you can see the value of all the team members. You hear it when you're talking about it. You're like, everybody else is working on it. It's so good. I think it's there's just so much great happening with Walkabout Mini Golf, and seems like the DLCs are just getting, and the new courses are getting better and better. I'm so hopefully that
so many we're working on. There are so many I really want to talk about. So when you say have me back, please, I want to share these exciting stories from behind the scenes.
Yeah. We have always given anyone at Mighty Coconut an open door invitation to come on anytime they want. We don't care what they want to talk about. It's like the enthusiasm for every conversation we had, it's worth its weight in gold. So.
Again, you can always hear the passion. It's I wish I could see this whiteboard being. I hope you guys continue with the IP route.
If I could do anything, it would be go to a meeting.
Yeah, I remember when we talked to Don, we asked him like, "Hey, the same thing we asked you. Do you have a dream course?" And he goes, "I do, but it's being worked on, so I don't want to talk about it." And I'm wondering if his is already out. If it was Myst as well, I'm wondering. Oh man, there's so much.
I know the one he's talking about. It's not out, and it's terrific. But also, it's one of those things like it's gonna come out like sometime late next year or something. You know, there's so many levels that are so far ahead that it's. I mean, just be excited all the time.
Yeah, no.
I want to ask, or just with a little caveat first, when we choose, say, when we're thinking about an IP or a space we want to adapt, say it's a film with characters and whatnot, we actually don't really care about the characters. What matters is the environment. Is the environment a character that you want to be in? So, you know, for me, Myst, the characters are there, sort of, but not really. It's the island, it's the space. Another dream one I'd love to do, and I don't know if it's been discussed because I not part of the IP crew. I'd love to see BioShock, because Rapture, the city, is a character. It really is. The environment is the character. So I want to ask you two, with that in mind, what would be your dream course?
Oh, the listeners have heard me say this one ad nauseum. For me, I mean, with that in mind, I have a lot of different answers. You know, close number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. You know, like Elder Scrolls Fallout, those would be cool in there. But number 1 is without a doubt Star Wars, and I think that you could probably do 6 different courses.
That's because I'm kind of on the same page with you with Star Wars, but we were saying like one could be a Millennium Falcon based course.
One could be on Tatooine.
Yes.
One could be on Coruscant. One could be Dantooine. Anywhere. Where do you want? You know, you could do spaceships. You could do planets. You could do a cantina. You can do the Jabba the Hutt's palace. You know, you can do anything you want. And Star Wars is so iconic for the environments, of course, the characters too. But
you don't necessarily need them.
No, you really don't. You know, you could even put Han Solo frozen in the background. You know, it's like there's so much potential. So for me, it's without a doubt Star Wars. There's other ones that would be great, and there's endless answers really, but the number one is Star Wars.
I worry about Star Wars, just thinking out loud, because one of the things about Star Wars is that it's grimy and lived in. It was one of the first big sci-fis that really went, okay, it's science fiction in the future, or technically the past, but it feels like people live here, and it feels like people do stuff, which is what makes it so grounded. And I'm like thinking, I don't know how we do grime in our art style.
I can't help but feel like it would be, you know, even just something simple like
Hoth. You know what it is? It's like I'm more wanting to see what the mighty coconut touch on the genre would be, more than it being, again, like a photorealism of Star Wars. I mean, it was Star Wars.
Yeah.
But there is this feel that is brought upon by everything in the game that comes together. So that's where it would be interesting.
Yeah. The mighty coconut touch to my favorite movies, you know? And what about you? Is that the same?
I'm kind of with you on that, more for the I'm old school, so it's like I love them old 70s, 80s Star Wars movies. So it's like, yeah, they're to me just the holy grail of franchises. Other than, I know you've said Harry Potter, which I'm not huge on Harry Potter. I was more thinking out loud of, like, you know, well-known series like Lord of the Rings. You know, Lord of the Rings would be another no-brainer. But I would say probably Star Wars. Yeah, would be the easiest one if I were to go through a whole list of like old sci-fi movies, and then especially once we go into other game series, is like that's a whole new avenue that I haven't put enough thought into. But there's endless possibilities. I know Twilight Zone game, but a Twilight Zone course would be friggin'
each whole modeled after a different episode.
Something to that effect, because each episode had some trademark things going on that are memorable. So I'd probably say I'll change mine just to be different from yours to I'd say Twilight Zone.
But yeah, no, I'm gonna die
Twilight
on that.
Zone course.
I'm trying to think of it. What you could do. There's the great thing is it's a launch pad of so many ideas. In Labyrinth Hard Hole 5, the hole itself moves. You know, it magically moves on the ground and is constantly sort of cutting itself into the ground. You got to try and, you know, line it up and hit it into it. And I'm just thinking, the Twilight Zone, you could do so many weird and spooky things. It's like, you know, picture, if you will, a mini golf course where every time you hit the ball, it grows a little bit and won't fit into the hole. You are now entering the putting zone.
endless possibilities for Walkabout Mini Golf. And the thing
As
is,
long as the team at Walkabout's still the team doing it, then I think they could take anything and make it.
if Mighty Coconut put
Take
out
something boring, and they'd probably make it interesting.
if you put out a Google Form survey or something, it was like, "What's your dream course?" and just let people fill it out, you guys would have ideas for a lifetime.
Sounds like they already do.
Yeah, right? I'd love to see that whiteboard, but there's
But
a
it would
chance that
spoil the fun.
no, half the fun is it coming out. And while to me it's like, oh, Star Wars is a no-brainer, maybe there's nobody at Mighty Coconut who thinks that, and then you go ask somebody else and they're gonna say some series that you've never thought of. It's like, you could ask 100 different people.
No,
and get
dude, think
all these-
Jurassic Park.
Oh, stop.
Right.
Ooh.
Dinosaurs in the background.
Yeah, because again, I mean, if you're scenery based more than character based,
Yeah.
that's a perfect one.
Oh my
That's
goodness, it goes
perfect.
endless.
Go old school and like 2001: A Space Odyssey. That whole man. I'm actually
There's so many, isn't there? You just start thinking, you go, oh my God.
Well, something
My
that
favorite, of course, is when someone, say on our Discord, which is fantastic. Please, everyone join. Everyone there is so nice. Someone goes, "Oh, I really want to see this, as a course," and and we don't announce a course unless it's an IP one, like until like just before it launches. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God! In 3 days, you're going to be the happiest person in the world."
Oh, that must be so hard when you see those comments too, and you're just like, oh, I can't tell him, but yeah, he's gonna be happy.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody's ever disappointed in the courses.
Or someone goes, "Oh, I really want to see this on a ball," and I'm thinking, "It's designed, it's chosen, it's coming in 3 levels time." Oh my God!
And what I think the Mighty Coconut team does great is even for these IP courses. Like I said, I didn't spend a bunch of time in Myst. It's not like I had the same memories you have.
Mystologist.
Yes. I still loved it. It was one of my favorite courses just because of the gameplay, the puzzle elements of the way it all plays together. So the way these courses are being designed, that if you have existing memories with these IPs, you're going to love it. It's going to be extra great to you. And if you've never encountered them before, it's still just a super creative, wicked fun new mini golf course that,
It's a win-win.
Yeah, you really don't need to be a huge fan of the series in order to enjoy it. But if you are, it's only going to be even better,
Yeah, that's the goal. We want, every course, we want it to be better than the last. And we want someone who's never heard of Myst before to go, wow, I enjoy this more than Coyote Valley or Shangri-La. It's just, it's better than what came before. And everyone has that level of enjoyment, even if they have no idea what we're on about.
I think they've nailed it.
Yeah.
And continue to nail it. And I look forward to the future for sure. Like 2024, it's still courses coming.
And it sounds like their brains, in my opinion, exactly where it should be. Of like, why even talk about mini golf 2, 3?
Mm-hmm.
We can just apply this formula endlessly, really. As long as it's able to stay with the hardware, why not? So, I'm excited. I always leave these interviews way more excited than I go into them.
Yeah,
and that's so crazy because it's like you think you talk to somebody, you get some resolution, you get some questions
No,
answered.
I get kind of like an adrenaline boost, to be honest with you. Like that, like
I want to go play some Walkabout.
let's go change the world, man. Like that type of thing. But I don't know.
You've got 6 balls left to find. You can do it.
I love it. So Edward, thank you so much for joining us. Your other side of the world over in Australia.
Literally,
Yeah,
yes.
literally. So, the timing of time zones and stuff, you're definitely very cooperative for us. Nice and peaceful here in our afternoon in New England, So thank you very much for joining us. But before we let you go, is there anything that you wanted to say to our listeners? Maybe how they can find you on social media, anything like that?
Well, I mean, I'd love to say follow me on Twitter because I just don't have that much followers. But I mean, I was scrolling this morning and stuff started to break and overlay on each other. So, maybe poor timing. My request is people tell me what social media platforms to join next, because apparently this one isn't it.
I love it. So thank you so much for joining us, Edward. It was a blast to talk with you.
Definitely have to have Edward on again.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what ideas from this whiteboard come to real life and are officially announced. I'm excited for the future of Mighty Coconut, Walkabout Mini Golf, and definitely for episode 2 with Edward sometime in the future. So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. Like I always say, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and stay tuned for next week.
Take care.
Take care, team.